Alright everyone, now we have to talk about Jen Psaki, of course, the circle back around lady, the White House spokeswoman. It's a far cry from the last one that's in there. It's amazing that there are actually liberals who think she's more effective. Normally she doesn't even answer the questions of the press. It's funny because Biden won't talk to them. Jen Psaki will talk to them. She'll ridicule certain members of the press, get softballs from others, and sometimes not even answer the softballs. Like, there's no answer for what's happening on the border right now. But anyway, she had the other day, link in the description, archived, of course. Always use archive.today, not the Wayback Machine, because that begins censoring things for political purposes as of this year. Jen Psaki openly avowing the fact that basically Biden's people try to hide him from the press and beg him not to talk to them, not to answer questions on the go. Now, the reason for this is obvious. She's trying to frame it as, well, he does his own thing. We try to stop Joe. You know, for our purposes, we don't want him to talk to you, but he does it anyway. See, like, he's a swell guy. He's interpersonal or something. Like that push polling that thinks he's at 63% approval. Yeah, I really believe that, based on the aggregate that shows it's considerably lower than that by about fucking 20 points. But anyway, that's the way it's being framed. Like, well, Joe's independent. He's not demented. He does his own thing. He's a strong president. Really what it means, though, is that they're trying to prevent him from talking to members of the press, or anyone for that matter, because he flies off the handle and says weird shit. He did this during the primaries. You remember he was threatening people, challenging them to push-up contests, mumbling and, losing track of what the fuck he's saying, forgetting where he is. Of course they're going to try to limit his exposure to the public. The best thing for this country, ironically, is about the same thing. Keep Joe hidden and don't let him do anything for the next few years. Just put him in a closet and forget about it. The president shouldn't even do anything over the next few years because they've got nothing but bad ideas anyway. Why don't you just close up D.C. instead of, by the way, I thought that the security fencing and the soldiers would be gone by now, but whoops, they're still there. I wonder how long. Why don't you just face the barbed wire inwards and just expand it so that all of D.C. is like basically a prison, and keep the politicians there, cut off their internet, and just let them sit there? Why don't you do that? You should get to send in grain shipments and shit and see who can learn how to cook. Why don't you just let them do non-political stuff for the next 2 to 4 years so that they can stop troubling the population? Throw all the governors in there too, because most of them are pieces of shit other than maybe DeSantis and a few others. Why don't we just do that? I'm being semi-hyperbolic, although, again, the swamp has been partially drained, but it's starting to refill because Biden is surrounding himself with corporate sleazebags. Jen Psaki is saying what I think everybody understood to be true, but it's interesting to see it so transparently. Normally an administration, if it's doing something like, well, we're hiding the president from the people, honk honk, the duly elected president, normally you'd say, well, that's kind of weird. But they're openly admitting it. They're just trying to frame it as though it's a good thing. So they expect like CNN anchors and Fox anchors and shit to be happy with the fact that literally the White House spokeswoman is saying, no, you can't talk to the president. We're telling him not to. We are telling the president of the United States not to talk to you when he's out and about. Don't you think that's a little bit bizarre? Normally presidents are admonished, hey, you need to go out and shake some hands. Go mill about. Go mingle with people. Go mingle with members of the press and, shake their hand and stuff. Give them that charisma and that presidential charm and wow them so that they'll give you more softballs. Sit down for an interview. Go to lunch and talk to CNN or something. Most of these people will only softball him anyway. Most of the journalists, so-called, in the legacy media will not ask hard questions of Beijing Biden. They're not going to suddenly do a gotcha if they're, they see him jogging outside or something. They see him golfing. They're not going to go across the green and say, hey, Mr. President, how about that border crisis? Hey, fucker, what are you doing about this? They would have done that to Trump. I thought it was funny because they would hide in the bushes and take photos of him like he didn't know they were there. Yeah, Secret Service is totally unaware of the fact that there are a bunch of NBC journos on the green. That makes a lot of sense. It's fucking surreal for 4 years there, and surreal now. We don't have journalism. We don't have a press. We don't have a media. The legacy media is not acting like a media. I mean, they don't do any journalism. They don't do any investigation. They don't get to ask questions. They get to talk to Jen Psaki. And half the time she won't answer their questions. And they're open about this. Oh, yeah, that's by design. We beg Joe not to take your questions. We tell him he's not supposed to talk to people outside of the realm of the press briefing room in the White House and the halls of Congress, and we carefully control that. Why do you think they would have to do that? It's because he's pushing 80 years old and he doesn't know what to say. The dude's demented. Of course he's not supposed to have conversations. If your grandpa or your grandma or something, they're getting a little bit kooky. They're getting a little bit demented. They're pushing 80 years old. They clearly have cognitive decline of one sort or another. And they go to the store and they start talking to people. What happens? They say weird shit and they forget who they're talking to. And they say, oh, hi, George. What? Who are you? I don't know who you are. Oh, do you remember back in high school? The other day, we were at the locker room. What are you talking about, dude? You're like 80 years old. That's what's going to happen. You're going to get to see that probably over the next few years. By the way, even though that'll be hilarious, there are two things that keep me from taking real glee in that. Number one, of course, I've had a relative that died with Alzheimer's, so that's not funny at that point. And number two, that means we get Kamala. Crazy Kamala, the psycho president. Wow, that'll be so great, won't it? Yeah, we'll have a psychopath in there that'll probably bomb third world nations just to prove that she can. Hey, I can be just like the boys. Hey, I've got a big dick too. I've got a big war dick. I'm a big war pig, just like Dick Cheney or George W. I'm going to bomb Turkmenistan. I'm going to bomb Colombia or something. Let's invade Honduras. Let's invade Grenada again. Yeah, it'll be a good time. We'll only kill a few thousand people. I just want people to know that I can be just as bloodthirsty as the boys. That's about what would happen, too. That's about all. Peace out.